welcome to Norm Clarke.
Good to see you, boys. Wow, what a crowd.
You'd think after 16 years in Las Vegas, I wouldn't be easily shocked. But the fact is, I am.
Hi, and welcome to the Motivational Minute. I'm Jennifer Lear here with Norm Clarke, celebrity columnist. Norm, thank you very much for being here.
My pleasure, Jennifer.
Norm, I want to know, you have such amazing experiences here in Las Vegas. What do you love about being a journalist?
It's a career that allows you to meet ordinary people who do extraordinary things. And in my world, there's a lot of wild and crazy.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. How long have you been a celebrity columnist?
I have been working the Las Vegas celebrity scene for about 17 years. Came here from Denver. Did a very similar column to that, but here we got a lot more celebrities. I grew up in a real small town in Montana. Started talking to the editor of the newspaper one day, and I ended up writing sports for the paper. And it was a game changer in my life. I'm just living the dream of every small town kid. And quite a few big town kids too.
Give me a little teaser about a few things that you talk about?
I would say they pretty much range from George Clooney and Steve Wynn getting into a big argument. Pete Rose and I had a major tiff. Had my good days and bad with Pete. On one of the not so good days, he threatened to punch me because I reported that he wanted to be traded to the Philadelphia Phillies, which, by the way, happened. Now, fast forward 30 years, we're both working in Las Vegas. Later, I was having dinner at Nine Steakhouse over at the Palms when Rose walked by. I called out to him several times, but he kept walking. I knew he could hear me, but he kept walking. Next thing I know, he walks up to the table. I stand up to introduce him, and whack, he bitch slaps me and says, "You made me the 5th worst tipper in your bleeping book." Note to self, the next time I slam somebody in my book, don't give them a free copy. Muhammad Ali, great story about what he did for a waiter. Here's an example of why Muhammad Ali is one of my favorite characters. He was dining at a Las Vegas steakhouse one night, and a busboy walked by, and Ali got his attention and called him over and said, "What's your name?" And the kid stammered and said, "Josh." Ali shook his hand and said, "Nice to meet you, Josh." Well, the kid walked away on cloud 9, and about 20 minutes later, he came back. Ali pulled him over again and handed him a folded linen napkin. The kid thanked him and went back to the kitchen. I can only imagine the disbelief when that kid opened that linen napkin in front of his kitchen colleagues, and there was a drawing by Muhammad Ali, who's a pretty fair artist. Ali had drawn a boxing ring and surrounded it with fight fans. In the middle of the ring, he had 2 stick figures with boxing gloves. Over one was the word Josh. Over the other, 2 words, the greatest. That had to be the greatest tip that kid ever got. In 1999, I left Denver and I went to the Review-Journal in Las Vegas to become the celebrity columnist. Greatest job in the world. It allowed me to go back to my AP days where I was covering so much breaking news, and there is no end to great celebrity entertainment news in Las Vegas.
Norm, what kind of comments do you get after your keynotes?
Well, Jennifer, people often come up to me and say they expected to be entertained, but they were also surprised that they were inspired.
Norm, I know that you're too modest to read this testimonial that you received, but I'm going to read it, and this was given to you after a speech that you had given after you had won the Damon Runyon Award in Denver. And it says, Norm Clarke had already won over the audience before he uttered his first word at our Denver event. He could have taken the easy way out on his speech. Instead, he delivered one of the most heartfelt, insightful, humorous, and touching speeches we've ever heard. It was like reading one of his columns where you can't wait to read the next morsel. Now, two of the previous recipients of this award were Katie Couric and Tom Brokaw. How did that feel?
It was an incredible honor.
Norm, we're in Las Vegas where obviously there's multiple meetings and conventions and conferences every single week, and they all hire keynote speakers. Why would somebody hire you?
Because I got the best stories. I've been here for 17 years, and as a veteran journalist, I've broken some of the biggest entertainment stories in the city's history. I know where the bodies are buried. One of the surprising things I've learned over the years is that a great story about animals will trump a story about celebrities almost every time. I got a call from the Chippendales publicist one day, said he had a heartwarming story. He said one of the Chips was out in his neighborhood and came across this emaciated dog. He checked its dog tags, found the address, and rang the doorbell. When he got no response, he found a door open in back. As soon as he stepped in, he realized this was a trashed foreclosure home. Holes were punched in the walls. The staircase was demolished. The house was ransacked. Even the contents of the refrigerator were strewn all over the floor. His shock turned to anger when he saw two more dogs in worse condition. He took those 3 dogs home, and they were lovingly adopted by his coworkers. A couple months later, I was invited to a rehearsal at the Rio, where the new owners were reuniting the Chippen dogs. Those pups were so excited to see each other. Tails were wagging, tears were streaming. It was incredibly moving. Now, full disclosure, I'm the proud owner of 2 adorable silky terriers named Rumor and Scandal. And my wife says we're going to adopt a third and name it Retraction.